Roundup starts right now. ESPN Alamogordo 103.7. Hello and welcome into the show. Hope everybody's having a very good Tuesday. If you'd like to call into the show for today, 437-1230. Yeah, of course, I forgot what the phone number was. I remember what day it was. The phone number. Sometimes a little questionable sometimes. Anyway, if you want to call in, super easy to do that. Whatever's on your mind. The crazy Monday Night Football game last night lived up to the hype. You know, you don't get those very often where the game has all this talk about it and everybody's super excited. And I mean, let's be fair, that was about as good as it gets. I know who was the first person I saw that kind of poo-pooed the whole thing last night. Oh, it was Trent Dilfer, how that wasn't good football last night. It's like, yeah, no, I mean, I sort of see what he's saying, but always got to have that contrarian, that person that wants to step out there and be, everybody else may have enjoyed that, but I didn't. It never fails. I mean, there's always going to be that. And I'm not going to say it, mind. I'm definitely that guy sometimes. But that was entertaining last night. And somebody else made a good point of that it was like watching college football last night. And it's hard to argue that college football has the better product right now, or it's hard to argue against that college football has a better product than the NFL right now. So I understand if some people didn't like it, but, man, he had 3 total defensive touchdowns. And I think that's part of why the score was so crazy. You know, the Rams scored 2 defensive touchdowns, and the Chiefs scored one of their own. And then 2 great offensive teams. But, the Rams defense forced 5 turnovers. The fact that the Rams defense forced 5 turnovers and the Chiefs offense still scored 44 points. The 51 obviously, but you give 7 of those to the defense. That's kind of crazy. Now, Chiefs defense, I think, forced, 2 turnovers? So, I think it kind of shows to show how good both those teams are. And if that really was bad football, who's playing better football out there that's going to stop those 2 teams? I can see you arguing the Saints. Saints beat the Rams. I got it. I'm sure there's somebody out there that'll say the Patriots because they beat the Chiefs. But there's not too many other teams. So if that is bad football, what's most of the rest of the league doing? That's my question. All right. Let's get to some local stuff first. New Mexico Soccer released the all-state teams for 2018. If you want to see the full list, nmsoccer.com. Swing on there. Anybody can go view it. Super easy to check that out. It's a good website. Got a lot of information. All the all-district teams are also available there. So whatever you'd like to find out, they're available. Shauna Williams gets first-team honors for the girls. Still just a sophomore. She's going to be around for a little while longer, right? Tori Barunda and Cheyenne Drake, of course, seniors. They got honorable mention. On the boys' side, honorable mentions for Johnny Lucero, Herbe Bustamante, Julian Torres, Junior Barbosa, all seniors that are moving on after this season. But congrats to all involved, all very deserving, and of course making Tiger and Lady Tiger Soccer very proud with earning those honors. So congrats to them on that. Hopefully I'll have a few more all-district honorees from some of the fall sports teams in the coming weeks or so, and let you guys know. That would be I think Thule volleyball, Mescalero volleyball, and Thule football, maybe some of the other football teams throughout the area too. So I'll hopefully get that all figured out and squared away and let you guys know with what's going on there. But Otherwise, for local stuff, again, pretty quiet week for this area. We do have high school football playoffs continuing, but basketball practice is starting. You don't have any games this week, so even for anybody else around the state, we do have Black and Gold Mania coming up on Friday night, so a chance to see the new Alamogordo boys basketball teams and the previous Alamogordo boys basketball team, some of the previous teams. They're going to have an alumni game this year where you'll have two alumni teams play each other, which I think that'll work out probably better for everybody. There'll be an entertainment. There'll be more alumni guys that'll get a chance to play instead of having a team of 12. Maybe you got a team of 8 or 9 on each side, and they get to go at it. And I think that'll be fun to watch. To see some former Tiger basketball players out there on the floor. That should be pretty fun. So we'll have some of that coming up on Friday, and they're going to have plenty of other fun things going on at Tiger Pit. 6 o'clock start time for that, so we'll look forward to it. And otherwise, that's about it. Scrimmages on Saturday for Alamogordo boys and girls basketball. And I believe, I'm not totally sure, but I believe it's the same teams that are coming in for each side, so Clovis, Valencia, and Cobre, but I haven't been able to double-check that with Coach Vigil yet, but they both are hosting scrimmages on Saturday, so I'm going to assume that will be the case coming up this weekend. So, let's see. Anything else worth mentioning? I don't think so. On the sports side. Yeah, I think we're good. So, we'll start getting busier next week. And we may spend a little bit more time on the remainder of the high school football playoffs, which is something I failed to point out yesterday, that the Tigers district, which we weren't surprised, but still, 3 of those 4 teams are semifinalists, and you got a chance that there'll be 2 teams playing for the state championship out of the same district. That's pretty unusual. I mean, you don't see that in any classification usually. Maybe 2 teams, but for 3 teams to be 3 of the best 4 teams in the state, and you could argue that they are the 3 best teams in the state. And that Los Lunas, yes, they got the 3 seed, but maybe fair to argue that Artesia is better than Los Lunas. We won't get to see that matchup now, but that's all good. This just came across comeback player of the years, or comeback players of the year in Major League Baseball. David Price from the Red Sox, Johnny Venters for the Atlanta Braves. We've had other, Mookie Betts won the MVP on the AL side. Have they announced the National League MVP? Don't remember. NL MVP. I'm not sure if they moved that separately. Christian Yelich, okay, no big surprise there. Hadn't seen a lot of the awards. Blake Snell won the AL Cy Young, which got Kate Upton all upset again, thinking that it was a few years ago that the 2 Tampa writers completely didn't vote for Justin Verlander. They didn't even put him on their ballot, and that cost him a Cy Young a few years ago. So, and then Jacob deGrom won the NL Cy Young. Not too many surprises so far in the postseason awards. Even though I think deGrom, there's a little bit of I think for some people they don't like that he got the award because his record was so poor and the Mets were so bad, but it sort of still felt like the right pick, didn't it? I thought it did. But Gold Glove and all the other announcements have, I think, been. I don't think there's any other big awards to be announced, right? I don't think so. They think they released the Hall of Fame ballot, and it's in January when they officially announce who's been inducted, I believe. I forgot how strong a percentage Clemens and Bonds got last year. I mean, they're closing in on 60%. Not shocked. I'm still not sure how I necessarily feel about that. I think the problem that you run into is there are going to be some guys that maybe had suspicion, but there wasn't any proof, and what do you do with that? Whereas I feel like with Bonds and Clemens, there's some pretty clear evidence. I mean, there's not a red herring test that said, but I think if we're all smart enough, and I believe we are, we can look at that and go, yeah, they probably were using. Now, I think the problem is during that era, who was and who wasn't. And there are some people that may claim they have the answer to that. I don't believe you. Because I guarantee you there's probably a guy that's already gotten into the Hall of Fame that at some point used PEDs but never got caught. Guarantee it's already happened. So, it's a tough deal. It's a Hall of Fame. You know, it's not the end of the world one way or the other. But, by the way, first ballot Hall of Famers on the list this year, Mariano Rivera is going to get in. Andy Pettit's going to be an interesting test. Because there's a guy that got caught, admitted, apologized. I don't know if Pettit overall, I have to look at his numbers a little bit better. See if that guy's like a for sure Hall of Famer if it wasn't for the PEDs. Roy Halladay, I think for some people feel like is maybe there's a maybe in there. I don't know. I need to look at those numbers a little bit more. Here's some of the other names. Todd Helton. That name jumps out at me like it should be, but Michael Young, Miguel Tejada, Placido Polanco, Juan Pierre, Freddie Garcia, John Garland, Ted Lilly, Derek Lowe, Darren Oliver, Roy Oswalt, Jason Bay, Lance Berkman, Vernon Wells, Kevin Youkilis, Travis Hafner, and Rick Ankiel. And then, of course, the guys that were the rest of the ballot and appeared at least twice. So you've got Barry in his 7th year, Clemens in his 7th year. They were up to 56 and 57% respectively. Mike Mussina was up to 63%. Edgar Martinez was up to 70. Seems like Edgar might get in, but there appears to be a little pushback against the DH. I think that's waning. Curt Schilling was at 51%. Kurt's a weird one to me that he's not. I just wonder, is that because of his viewpoints post baseball that have hurt his chances at getting into the Hall of Fame? Or maybe his overall resume for a lot of people just isn't good enough. I don't know, man. He's got 3,000 strikeouts, and I know he doesn't have 300 wins, but 3,000 strikeouts, a couple of World Series rings, one of the more iconic World Series games in history, 6-time All-Star, 3-time World Champion, by the way. I forgot he was with the Red Sox in 2007. A World Series MVP. He's got an NLCS MVP. Never won the Cy Young, but again, I think that's a weird one. But 3,000 strikeouts, that's a place that not too many players are at. And you got to feel like Kurt has hurt himself in the poll of public opinion maybe more than anywhere else. And then there's a bunch of players here that I don't think will legitimately, you couldn't talk about them and having a real chance to get in. Writers submit their ballots by December 31st, and January 22nd is when they announce who's going to be in the Hall of Fame. But yeah, some of the other names: Larry Walker, Billy Wagner, Omar Vizquel, Sammy Sosa. Sammy Sosa is another one to me. How is it that Sammy Sosa is at 7.8% and Barry's at 56%? I know Sammy doesn't have as great of numbers as Barry, but he also has well over 600 home runs. That's a weird one. Gary Sheffield, 11%. Sheffield's another strange one that doesn't seem to get a whole lot of respect. Scott Rowland, Manny Ramirez, 22%. Manny Ramirez not getting a whole lot of love for the Hall. The Crime Dog, Fred McGriff, Jeff Kent, Andrew Jones, they're all under 20%. No, McGriff is a little bit over 20%. in that last one. Yeah, none of these other names, by the way, on the first ballot, with the exception of Rivera, am I going, oh yeah, right away, Hall of Famer. Even Halladay for some reason, because I remember reading an article somewhere where people were questioning Roy Halladay. Is it the lack of a World Series? No, 2 Cy Youngs, 203 wins, 2,000 strikeouts. Now, obviously, something will be posthumous, but we're just past a year since Halladay had his plane crash. That's kind of crazy that was that long ago. MLB wins winner a couple of times, and he's also one of those players that you look at him and I think we, at some point in his run, we looked at him as the best pitcher in baseball. We certainly said that about Clemens. I think Curt Schilling, you could have made that argument for it during a few years during his career. And I get people not. I don't like a lot of the things that Curt Schilling says and is involved with. I disagree with him wholeheartedly on a lot of that stuff. But I also feel like, that's part of the thing that makes it difficult, is that, shouldn't we be able to compartmentalize that a little bit? I mean, it's his opinions. A lot of them are, like I said, from my standpoint, very disagreeable. Maybe not from yours. But if that's the reason that people are not voting for him, I'm not a huge fan of that. But man, these baseball writers yield these Hall of Fame votes with I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Hall of Fame voting in general, because there's like these unwritten rules that a lot of people seem to. Like, is anybody really going to argue that Mariano Rivera is not a Hall of Famer? But he's not going to get 100%. He won't be a unanimous choice. But he's the greatest closer of all time. And somebody out there is going to be like, nah, I'm not going to put him on my first ballot. And that's the problem with Hall of Fame voting. Is there's a group out there that, yes, I guess they've done something to earn that vote, but it's it's a tad confusing. And Andy Pettitte, just based on the thing that you got to feel like is going to hurt him for some people is he had over 250 wins, 2,500 strikeouts, or just shy of it. 5 World Series rings, which I really don't think that should play a ton into it. But yeah, he rejoined the Yankees in 2007. Later that season, admitted to using HGH, recovering from an injury in 2002. So you wonder if that is going to affect people's views on him. But I think Pettitte and Halladay and Schilling are kind of all in the same area for me. If we're just looking at numbers, Clemens is a clear Hall of Famer. So is Bonds. But there's other things that go into it. And Todd Helton should be a Hall of Famer, shouldn't he? Or am I remembering him a little bit? Am I remembering him incorrectly in terms of his numbers? 316 career batting average, over 2,500 hits, 360-plus home runs. I don't know, man. That's pretty good. 316 career hitter. Bunch of Gold Gloves. Bunch of All-Stars. I'm curious to see where he ends up on that list. If it's runaway that he's going to get in, or if there's going to be a little bit more debate there. And the rest of these names, I just don't see any of them just runaway Hall of Famers. Very, very good. Wouldn't say Hall of Fame. So I guess, Rivera would be the clear one. I got to think that Edgar Martinez is going to get in this year, just for how close he got last season. After that, I just don't know. I don't know how much Andy Pettitte's HGH admission hurts him. There seems to be a little bit of pushback on Roy Halladay, so I don't know what what the effect that's going to be. Todd Helton is. I'm just curious what the voters. I mean, my gut feeling says Hall of Famer, but I'll also say that these people that have Hall of Fame votes are far more. I think far more intelligent when it comes to baseball than I am, and probably have a better, if anything, a better perspective of where these guys fit into the entire scheme of baseball over the years, and how they stack up against other guys and other Hall of Famers. They've got a little bit better feel for that. So that's some of them. There's other ones that I wouldn't dare say that about, but. And I'm trying to remember, I think the Hall of Fame ballot is anonymous. I don't think if you don't want to, you don't have to put out there how you voted. That's something I don't like for sure. If you can't defend your choice to the public, then you shouldn't be making it. And if your choice is simply, this is what my opinion is, okay, but at least be able to stand behind it. Now, again, I'm not sure. They may, but I'm almost completely sure that they don't make that known who's picking who, right? Okay, let's take a break. We'll come back. If you want to call into the show, 437-1230. More of the roundup for you after this.
This is Brandon with Desert Sun. I'm not sure if you all know this, but Desert Sun Auto Group consists of 5 dealerships across the great state of New Mexico. This means we have 5 new car departments with over 500 vehicles to choose from and over 200 quality pre-owned vehicles. Majority of these vehicles, when bought from us, are backed with Desert Sun's lifetime powertrain protection. Stop by either Desert Sun Motors or Desert Sun Toyota today and let us help you find your new ride. See our full inventory at DesertSunMotors.com.
If you find yourself frustrated because your internet is slow, then you need to call Tularosa Basin Telephone Company. They have the speed, the reliability, and the customer service to turn your frustration into smiles. Now, doesn't that sound like a better plan? Call Tularosa Basin Telephone Company at 585-2700 and get connected today.
Now you have a choice when it comes to keeping massive files of your bank statements every month. With an online e-statement, you'll have an accurate, easy-to-read electronic statement you can access anywhere, anytime. Get more control over your cash flow and no more giant filing cabinets. Our e-statements get an A+. First National Bank, member FDIC. When you grow, we grow.
Looking for a good pre-owned vehicle? You know the one everyone wants? Late model, low mileage, good condition? Then you need to look at Richardson Motors. Robbie and his staff will get you in a vehicle you want, whether it's a car, truck, SUV, or van. At Richardson Motors, it's about taking care of the customer right the first time. So for the best service, the best vehicles, it's gotta be the best dealership. Richardson Motors. Richardson Motors, 318 South White Sands, next to McDonald's.
With the holidays fast approaching, let Otero Federal Credit Union take the stress out of the holiday season with a personal loan for those extra expenses. Also, take advantage of our holiday loan skip-a-payment program to put a little extra cash in your pocket. Stop by today to see how OFCU can make your holidays a little brighter. OFCU, community people you know. Federally insured by NCUA. OFCU, 3 branches in Otero County. Call 434-8500.
I love being a part of Action Team.
For more than a decade, Major League Baseball players and action teams of high school students have been working together to train and inspire the next generation of volunteers.
It's one of the best feelings in the world.
Just that simple act is transforming someone else's life.
All-star Giancarlo Stanton and Chris Capuano join Action Team captains to make a difference in their communities.
It'll just make you feel so good about yourself.
I'd do anything to convince you just to be a part of this.
For more information, go to actionteam.org.
Since the day I stopped drinking, my life has gotten better and better. I can't take any credit for it. It just seems that without alcohol, I think better, I'm more careful with money, I watch what I say, I don't get into trouble like I did when I was drinking. It's scary trying to walk through life alone, and today I have that very distinct feeling that I don't ever have to be alone again. Alcoholics Anonymous. It works. Look us up. Check your phone book, newspaper, or AA.org.
For the local AA hotline, call 430-9502. That's 430-9502.
Selfless service is the guiding principle that drives Army National Guard soldiers to be always ready whenever disaster strikes. Every Army National Guard member serves not only to protect the nation, but also their local communities, so they each have a stake in the security and well-being of the neighborhoods where they live and work. They are your next-door neighbors and your colleagues in schools, offices, and factories. Since the early days of our republic, the Army National Guard has continued its timeless commitment to guarantee peace and security for all Americans, a proud legacy which has endured for nearly 4 centuries. To be a Guard soldier is to stand ready to serve at all times for family, for community, and for country. Selfless service, it's what inspires the men and women of the Army National Guard to be part of something greater than themselves. To learn more, log on to NationalGuard.com or contact an Army National Guard recruiter in your area. Sponsored by the New Mexico Army National Guard. Aired by the New Mexico Broadcasters Association and this station.
You're listening to ESPN Alamogordo 103.7. It's weird that the first article that I end up on is one that I automatically disagree with. A guy that doesn't think that Mariano Rivera should be in the Hall of Fame because he only came in as a specialist and pitched, 1 inning apiece. And I mean, the guy's going to easily be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Are we really having the closer argument still? Everybody's entitled to their opinion. I strongly disagree with that. That they don't think that somebody doesn't think Mariano Rivera should be a Hall of Famer. Well, I'll tell you right now, he's going to be. If Trevor Hoffman got in, Mariano Rivera is getting in. Everybody. I guess it's the everyday. You got to be an everyday player. If you're not an everyday player, or even a pitcher who pitches every 5 days, well, I mean, to be honest, if your team's playing well, your closer is more of an everyday player than your starting pitchers are. Let's go to the phones. You're on the roundup.
Hey, happy Tuesday, everybody. How's everybody doing?
What's up, Tommy?
Hey, I agree with you. I'm still old school in some ways of baseball. But you know what? You get somebody that's supposed to do their job for 1 inning, and they do it really, not really good. They do it outstanding.
Better than anybody else in the history of the game.
You got it. But, that's the best way to put it. How are you going to say no to somebody that's their job? That's what they got paid for. That's what that was their specialty.
Well, and that's the same thing that Edgar Martinez is. It's taking so long for him to get in. Is the fact that he was a DH. And a lot of people that bothers them to no end that, I'm not going to put a guy who was a DH most of his career into the Hall of Fame.
Why not? Look at Jim Thome. He was a DH. He played first a lot, but he was a DH a lot.
I know. Listen, I'm with you on that one, man. There are a lot of Hall of Fame voters that have such staunch opinions when it comes to baseball, and it makes me roll my eyes.
And the ones that do that are the old-timers like me that still think, but, sometimes you have to go, and just their performance speaks for themselves, and you have to go with that. I just don't understand it too when you see these guys that they haven't elected to include Pete Rose. And I understand why they don't want to elect him in there because of what he did off the field. If he was a manager, he was betting on his team. That's wrong. You might do something crazy or some change that. Oh well, whatever. But for you to be talking baseball right now, with Beltre retiring, automatic, I think he'll be a first ballot. Adrian Beltre will be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, his numbers are.
If you're a baseball or a sports fan like I am, and follow sports is good, that guy was amazing in Los Angeles. He was amazing in Seattle, and he was amazing in Texas for all those years.
The funny thing,
years, I believe something like 22 years, whatever
21,
it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember him having a down year except when he was injured, and the last few years he had been injured quite a bit.
Yeah, but the funny thing with him is I feel like he's kind of an under the radar guy. I mean, I don't think, people talked about him maybe enough. Maybe he wasn't on enough good teams in his run, but he's kind of a weird one. I agree that he should be in the Hall of Fame, but he's, like I said, just kind of an under the radar player for some reason.
And it doesn't help where he played at. I mean, when he started with the Dodgers, he won Rookie of the Year and all these honors. They went to Seattle, and Seattle's a market where you don't get to watch him on TV, especially back in when he first started in Seattle, because we didn't have MLB, we didn't have all this other stuff that we have now.
Yeah,
and now,
the Rangers are another one of those
now
teams.
That he's there, then he went to Texas, and Texas Rangers, to tell you the truth, is not a real big market either, even though it's big around that area and Texas. But that's about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Dallas is a football town. I mean, and they probably always will be. And I'm sure Rangers fans.
Texas is a football state.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
But I mean, that if you ask, in that city, what team rules, among? I mean, you got the Mavs, you got the Stars, you got the Rangers. It's the Cowboys, and it's always going to be the Cowboys. So.
That's true. That's true. But hey, I just wanted to bring up to you what I mentioned last night. I got to go see University of Texas Longhorns at Austin against Iowa State this Saturday.
That's right.
And you know how you watch games on TV and you say, man, that atmosphere is crazy. That atmosphere is so great. I wish I could go to one of these games. Well, I had the opportunity to go this past Saturday, and it was senior night, and it was alumni night and everything, and it was just, the atmosphere was just beyond my expectations. Let me put it that way. I mean, I thought it was going to be really nice, but it was just, one of those where you don't sit down unless it's a timeout or something that happens on the field that play is killed. It's around the campus. It's a city campus. I mean, there's people everywhere on yards and houses of yards, and they're around the stadium. They have stages with live bands. I mean, it's just one of those things where you just kind of like, wow, this is just amazing. I've been to NFL games. I've been to in different cities. I've been to MLB games, different cities. I've been to NCAA basketball and football games in different cities. But this past, besides the San Francisco Giants, when I went to go see them win the World Series, this past Saturday was such a great time. I mean, it just, you have to be there. And I'm going to tell this again, like I said before, if you ever get the opportunity to go watch your favorite team or a favorite sport, and it's a major college like that, go. I mean, you can't compare and I'm not going to say nothing bad about, and I'm going to mention their name, New Mexico State and UTEP when they play it. The atmosphere in both places is just great for that game. But this game is just way, way beyond it for college football, major college football.
Oh, yeah.
That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I would hope that game at UT Austin would be better than any of our area college programs. It's you're right. It's not the same. I can't imagine it would be. So.
Yeah, and it's just like I told you before. If you have a chance, regardless of the sport, go.
Yeah.
You go. I just met some people that went this weekend to Phoenix to go watch the Boston Bruins play the Coyotes for one game, and they said they loved every minute of it because the Boston Bruins is their team. And that's just like me going to San Francisco to Phoenix to go watch the San Francisco Giants, courtesy of some people that I know, and they give me some free tickets. And it's just awesome. Yeah. But you know what? And I'll tell you that what we talked about in the stadium is we were happy that we left everything that's going on in the world behind us already for a couple of hours, and enjoyed yourself and had a good time, and then we would get back and go back on the road, and reality strikes back again of what's going on in this country. But it's an escape. It's our escape, and that's why I love sports. And last night's game was another reason to love sports.
Yeah.
That was just phenomenal.
Oh, I think I lost him. But I think what he meant to say is that game was phenomenal, and I agree. Very, very good game. And glad Jaime that had a good time there at the UT game against Iowa State. So good stuff there. Just real quickly touching back on the Hall of Fame stuff. It was it's going to be interesting to me who gets it. I mean, the other stories that I've read quickly that Rivera's a first ballot lock, and I think that guy, he writes for Forbes, so I mean he's a numbers guy, and he says, and I don't, some people stick to their guns on those type of things. Stay off my lawn. Closers shouldn't be Hall of Famers. Blah blah blah. He is the greatest closer of all time. Hoffman is second. I don't think it's a problem that, it's the same thing in the NFL. People who don't want kickers and punters in the Hall of Fame, I think, is wrong. I think if they're the best, like Vinatieri should be in the Hall of Fame when his name comes up. The guy is, numbers-wise, is going to be the greatest of all time. He's got some of the biggest kicks in the history of the game, and, you need kickers to win. You need closers to win. And the idea that somehow that their career means less because they didn't play every day. I think there's something to be said of the challenge of going in there and you've only got, 3 outs to basically prove yourself and make yourself good. It's like telling a hitter that, you're going to get 1 at-bat a game. And, you better do something positive in there. I mean, there's positives and negatives to being that guy that gets, is playing a minimal amount of time in a game. Is that you also only have a limited amount of opportunities to do things well. So everybody's entitled to their opinion. I'm also entitled to tell them their opinion's stupid. Or it's wrong. Stupid's not a nice word, but I strongly disagree with that one on Rivera. Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens to some of the other guys. I guess, and I think Edgar Martinez, this is his last chance this year. If he's going to get in, he's got to get in on this ballot, or then it goes to the Veterans Committee, gets to choose from that point. So we'll see what happens there. But anyway, we haven't talked a ton about last night's game. I'm not going to sit here and break it down one way or the other. I'm just super entertaining. Really impressed with Mahomes last night in some cases. Those 2 interceptions at the end, he was pressing. So I sort of feel like, in terms of looking at what he did in that game, pay a little bit more attention to what he did in the majority of the game, I guess is the way that I look at it. Just personally. But you can be critical. I mean, there's definitely, I think both quarterbacks you can kind of be critical. I think both defenses, you can say that. Both defenses did score and had some big plays. I mean, I think it was a fun game. It was a fun game to watch, and I'm not saying I want every NFL game to be like that. I mean, that's what we get to is like, well, so this is what you want the NFL to be. No, I don't want everybody to score 50 points a game, but why can't we enjoy what that was last night? That it was special. That we've never had a game in the NFL where both teams have scored over 50 points, and some people hate that and want a little bit more defense involved in there, but I also think that those are 2 of the most dynamic offenses in football right now. Both Andy Reid and Sean McVay have maybe figured out better than others how to run that offense in the modern NFL. So that's, of course, led to criticism of other teams that maybe have talented players and aren't doing that as well. I mean, let's just, take so many wide leaps on just one game last night. It was just a game, and it was great, and I'm happy that a game that had so much hype lived up to that hype. I mean, that's such a nice thing to see. It doesn't happen as much. So, all right, what do we got for headlines today? 76ers Markelle Fultz out until he sees a shoulder specialist next week. Man, Markelle Fultz is such an interesting story. Something happened to him in the offseason after he left Washington and went to the NBA. And I know there was an injury involved there, but he just has never been the same player. Sixers head coach Brett Brown and general manager Elton Brand said they weren't aware of any issues with Fultz prior to Brand receiving a call from Raymond Brothers, who is Markelle Fultz's agent, saying that the 20-year-old would not be playing until at least next week. There's nothing we saw immediately that didn't allow him to play. He played last night. He played 2 days ago. Ever since Jimmy Butler came last week and Fultz wasn't starting, I thought he played pretty well. I was proud of the way he bounced back from a lot of things. Yeah, maybe it's the fact that he's not starting anymore. I don't know. Fultz is averaging 8 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds, but you talk about a guy who was a number 1 overall pick and just doesn't shoot the ball very well anymore. You watch him shoot free throws, and it's tough to watch, and you wonder what gets inside some of these guys and, gals' heads, athletes that, something that they did so well for so long, and then all of a sudden it's just not the same anymore. Very strange. J.R. Smith is not with the Cavs as they're trying to work on a trade. Kind of curious where J.R. ends up at. Cavs are terrible. What are they now? 2-12, 2-13. Clearly that was Ty Lue's fault, right? That's why they were so bad as Ty Lue. Someone's got to help me out with that firing. That the reason that they were so bad to start the season was because of the coaching. Sure it was. Couldn't be that this guy left, right? There was a player that used to be there that is now out in Los Angeles. Let's see. Jaime mentioned, but Adrian Beltre retired after 21 seasons. This is kind of an interesting deal. I'm not into recruiting at all, but it's definitely a school that not a lot of people think of that number 1 recruits are going to go to. James Wiseman, who is the number 1 recruited prospect for 2019, chose Memphis over Kentucky. Of course, Penny Hardaway is now the head coach of the Memphis program. Wiseman announced his decision on SportsCenter, bringing out a unicorn and wearing the Memphis logo. He has been referred to as a unicorn, like other players with his unique size and ability. He's also a part of the Unicorn fam with elite 2020 prospects R.J. Hampton and Jalen Green. I'm totally unaware of these things. Completely miss out on them. When Memphis hired Penny Hardaway to replace Tubby Smith in March, things began to shift towards the Tigers. Hardaway had coached Wiseman in the grassroots circuit with the Team Penny Bluff City Legends program. He also coached him in high school at East en route to a state championship. Hardaway immediately made Wiseman his top target for 2019. And you have a better understanding probably of why Memphis hired Penny Hardaway. And Penny could end up being a great coach. They're 2-1 to start the season this year. They beat Tennessee Tech and Yale and lost a pretty tight one to LSU, who's ranked right now in top 25. But, yeah, the recruiting circuit deal, it's just hard for me to stay up with that. At the end of the day, I'm just not sure I care enough. College hoops, got a good one tonight in the Maui. It's the Maui Gym Classic out there in Maui. Duke and Auburn, it's number 1 versus number 8. See if anybody can give Duke a game here early on in the season. Gonzaga faces Arizona in that same. So that Maui Gym tournament has the number 1, number 8, number 3 teams in the nation. I don't know if they've got any other ranked teams in that group. I don't think so. So getting some nice early season matchups in college hoops. Some things to watch in the middle of the week as you wait for college football to roll back around. All right, let's fit in one more commercial break. If you want to call into the show, 437-1230. More of the roundup coming for you right after this.
There are no roadblocks scheduled today on either Highway 70 or 54 South. For the latest roadblock information, call 575-678-1178. Tonight's forecast is calling for mostly cloudy skies with a slight chance of snow up in the mountain areas. In Alamogordo tonight, a low of 37 for Cloudcroft, an overnight low of 28. Tomorrow we're looking at sunny skies, partly cloudy tomorrow night. In Alamogordo tomorrow, high of 63, low of 39. Cloudcroft tomorrow, high of 51, overnight low of 33.
Women now make up 37% of the workforce, changing their role forever.
Harvard Medical School has now opened its doors to new female applicants.
The first woman is now in space.
The majority of last year's doctorate degrees were earned by women. We've come so far, but our news is changing for the worse. More women die from heart disease and stroke than men, even though it can be prevented. Make a change at GoRedForWomen.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the American Heart Association's Go Red for Women.
The KNMZ Football Roundtable is back for its 31st season. 5 local business people and their best football prognostications every Friday at 11 a.m. on ESPN Alamogordo. Manny Gonzalez from Charles Garland Harris Agency. Donna Columbus of First National Bank. Brandon Burling from Desert Sun Auto Group. Timothy Brock of Christ Community Church. And Jake Roberts of Caldwell Banker Sudderth Nelson. The KNMZ Football Roundtable, Fridays at 11 a.m. on Southern New Mexico's sports leader, ESPN Alamogordo 103.7.
Everybody else wakes up so rested and cheery, while you wake up with back pain and ready to get back into bed again. They make you sick. It takes 30 minutes just to get your back feeling normal. You work hard to make life great. Why is sleep such an issue? It shouldn't be. Sleepwell can help you find your sleep again. From finding a mattress that supports your back to relieving strain by using a power base, Sleepwell will partner with you. Come see us today. Find the rest you need and lose the back pain. When you sleep well, you live well.
Every student wants their high school sports apparel, and there's only one place to get it, the Winner's Circle. They carry all the local school letter jackets, whether you're a Tiger, Wildcat, or Bear. While you're there, get your jacket personalized with embroidery, stitching, and have your letters and patches sewn on too. They also carry trophies, plaques, and awards, and service with a smile. It's all at the Winner's Circle, 1201 10th Street in Alamogordo.
What makes Vision Ford Lincoln Hyundai unique? At Vision Ford, we're all about you. Your vision, your style, your needs, and your story. Vision is fully stocked with dozens of the hottest 2018 models, including the Ford F-Series, America's #1 selling truck for 40 years. With financing options that fit every budget and a sales team dedicated to you, Vision Ford Lincoln Hyundai continues the Yes We Can tradition. All we need is you. Visit us today at 1500 South White Sands Boulevard or 24/7 online at visionfordlincoln.com.
I'm Ed Harrell, and this is the Kindness Revolution. I don't know about you, but I'm at the conclusion that customer service is almost a forgotten service. I've experienced so much indifference and incompetence lately that I'm almost at the point of just conceding that good service is extinct. I recently read a quote that said, customer service is not a department, it's an attitude. I'm buying that. I want competency in service, but if errors are made, I also want an attitude of caring about getting the problem solved as opposed to an attitude of indifference. I'm currently dealing with 2 service providers for my home. Both have been affected by recent storms, and their schedules have been interrupted. One makes sure that we're updated and kept apprised of schedule changes. The other acts as if they care with a, what do you want me to do attitude. One will be gone this time next year. To learn more, check us out at thekindnessrevolution.net.
Stop by White Sands Motorsports right here in Alamogordo for all your power sport needs. White Sands Motorsports carries Honda, Yamaha, and Roxor. New to the store, Can-Am and Textron side-by-side vehicles. As always, they handle parts and services for all makes and models. For the best power sport deals on 2 or 4 wheels, White Sands Motorsports has got you covered. Open Tuesday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. and Saturdays, 9:30 to 5. 21070 Highway 70 or visit motorsportsofnewmexico.com. ESPN Alamogordo 103.7. Welcome back. If you want to call on the show, 437-1230. Got about 10 minutes left, whatever's on your mind. Feel free to call in. It's not much big from college football from the weekend. We get new college football rankings tonight. College football playoff rankings, I should say. I can't anticipate any changes there. Bama, Clemson, Notre Dame, Michigan. Now, you would think that Notre Dame and Michigan can essentially lock up their spots this weekend, right? Michigan still has a Big Ten title game, so maybe not with them. But Notre Dame doesn't have a championship game. They go 12-0. I think it's really hard to imagine a scenario that an undefeated Notre Dame team doesn't get in. Now, I can see some scenarios where things get cloudy, I think it's all the one-loss teams. Let's say Georgia were to beat Alabama in the SEC title game. What happens then? A 12-1 Oklahoma team. Maybe you throw a 12-1 Washington State team into that mix. I don't know. I'm sure Central Florida fans are going to be screaming, "What about us?" And they can. That's fine. They're going to be 12-0 if they win their final game and then the American Conference Championship game. Ohio State's obviously still in the mix. If they beat Michigan and win the Big Ten title, they will certainly be talked about a little bit more. But we know either Ohio State or Michigan's going to be out of the discussion after this week. The bigger question is there any losses in there to some of these teams that will change things up? You know, Clemson has got South Carolina, and they're going to play Pitt in the ACC title game. Kudos to Pitt, by the way. 6-1 in the ACC Coastal. ACC is not very good this year, especially that ACC Coastal. Virginia Tech and Miami in the season that they're having. Anyway, and then Bama. I mean, obviously, Bama goes undefeated. The big question for Alabama is if they were to lose any one of their final two games, are they still in? My gut feeling says probably, but we'll see what the committee decides. But Bama, Clemson, Notre Dame, Michigan in right now. They probably, I think the top three control their own destiny. I'm not completely convinced that Michigan does. Just from the standpoint of let's say if Alabama loses and Georgia gets to one loss, you know, they're even. They beat Alabama head to head. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm just, the possibilities, the maybe scenarios that you could start looking at with some of these games, but probably pushing it a little bit. Same goes with Ohio State. But when you look at Ohio State, and if you're trying to pick between Ohio State and Alabama or Ohio State and Georgia, Georgia's one loss is to LSU. Bama's one loss would be to Georgia. Ohio State's would be to Purdue. That's not going to look that good. Michigan would be in a much better spot just from the standpoint that their one loss is to Notre Dame. So I think if there's a one-loss Alabama-Georgia situation at the end of the year, Michigan would be in a better spot and say, hey, the only team that we lost to is undefeated and are in the playoff right now. So Michigan might have a little bit better of an argument. In Oklahoma, Texas is going to be their only loss. It's not a bad loss. This is the kind of year that will create momentum to add to the college football playoff. This is the year because you're going to have, let's say everybody wins out that you would expect. So Bama goes unbeaten, Clemson goes unbeaten, Notre Dame does, Michigan goes to 12-1, Oklahoma's 12-1, Washington State's 12-1, Central Florida goes unbeaten. And those four teams there, whether it's, it's likely Oklahoma, Washington State, Central Florida, those teams are all going to be screaming, hey, we had just as good a season as that other team. And we've had it in other years where there have been some teams that missed out that were, arguably had just as good a year. So it's going to be fun these last couple of weeks. I'm hoping for a little bit of chaos. A little bit. Hey, it should be noted, by the way, Utah State's all the way up to 14 in the AP poll. Army is ranked this week. I'm just going to tell you right now, Army has beaten nobody. I know they're 9-2, but you go look at their schedule. Duke crushed them earlier this year. Now, they played Oklahoma tough, but their other wins are Hawaii, Liberty. Buffalo's not bad. San Jose State's not good. Miami of Ohio, Eastern Michigan, Air Force, Lafayette, and Colgate. And Lafayette and Colgate, I think, are both FCS teams. Got Navy to finish up the season. But regardless, I'm happy for Army. You talk about a program that struggled for a long time. And to be ranked in both polls, they probably won't be in the top 25 of the college football playoff, but still, I think that's pretty cool that Army's in the top 25. First time since the mid-'90s they've been ranked in the top 25. And you got a few of those that are unusual teams in the top 25, whether it's Central Florida or Utah State or Boise being in the top 25 isn't that weird. Pitt jumped into the top 25 this week. They're going to be in that ACC title game. Maybe they'll give Clemson a good game. You never know. Stranger things have been known to happen. They haven't played each other this year, so we at least don't have an idea of what's already going to happen. Same with Alabama and Georgia when they play each other. Maybe Auburn will figure out something here at the end of the season and play better just for the Iron Bowl. But again, all we can do is just kind of hope. I'm trying to find bowl projections right now. We won't have any. Obviously, we won't have any of our area teams playing bowl games this year, but I don't see any. I don't see any bowl projections at the moment, or at least none that are easy to find. I feel like that's something that a lot of people look for, and I don't know, doesn't seem to jump out in a lot of places. Let's see if there's a USA Today bowl projections. There we go. That's pretty good. Clemson, Notre Dame, Alabama, Michigan are the big games. New Mexico Bowl would be Middle Tennessee and San Diego State. Rocky Long gets to come back to Albuquerque. I think he likes Albuquerque. He just didn't like coaching at UNM there at the end of his tenure. South Florida, Louisiana Monroe, and the Cure Bowl. What are some of the other good ones? Who's the Sun Bowl possibilities? They're saying Boston College, Oregon. That's a pretty good one. Two pretty solid teams this year. Worth checking out. They're going to be doing that here pretty soon, so deciding who's in all of these bowl games. Getting to one of the fun parts of the year, I feel like. Again, we've got up on our Facebook page, you can check out the all-state selections for Alamogordo soccer, the boys and girls. Both picked up some all-state honors. Shauna Williams was first team all-state in Class 5A. Tori Brunda, Cheyenne Drake earned honorable mention. Honorable mention on the boys' side for Johnny Lucero, Herbe Bustamante, Julian Torres, and Junior Barbosa. So congrats to everybody there, and congrats to all of them on a great season. Local stuff, basketball tryouts continue, practice / continues. I think they made a lot of decisions in the last couple of days. I don't know. Some of the coaches need a couple-day tryouts. Sometimes it's just one day. But we'll get to see the boys' basketball team and girls' basketball team later this week in scrimmages and Black and Gold Mania on Friday night. So there's some fun things to be had in the coming week. Looking forward to it. That's 6 o'clock, by the way. Tiger Pit on Friday night. We'll be excited to see how all that goes, and hope to see a lot of the community out there to come take part and enjoy a little kickoff of Tiger basketball. Hopefully we'll get some more people out there. It's Thanksgiving weekend. There's not I think a ton to do on a Friday night. You got a lot of family in town, a lot of people in town. I mean, it could be a fun thing to do going forward for the Tigers. They keep the practice start date where it is. That Friday after Thanksgiving, maybe a lot of people in town can go and enjoy some of that. So that'll be pretty good. We'll see how that works. I don't know. All right, you guys have a great rest of your day. And Will Kane Show, final hours coming up next on ESPN Alamogordo 103.7.
You're listening to ESPN Alamogordo 103.7, Southern New Mexico's sports leader, KNMZ Alamogordo.